the most exciting but also absolutely the most frustrating part about it is you're like, oh, we just learned how to do this and it's going really great and now nobody cares about it anymore, so you got to move on. But the important thing to remember is that while there are these fun new things that we're using, there are some very basic fundamentals that need to go into your strategy and your planning, and so getting an understanding of those things can be incredibly helpful.
Touche. I agree with that. And what he said. The organizers of this panel were kind enough to give us some of the questions in advance, so my prepared answer is this. I started as a graphic designer. Oh, no, I already said that. The disruption brought on by technology creates a lot of opportunity for smart, digital savvy people with limited experience. It has made many employers look at the marketing function differently. This is great news for millennials and frightening news for dinosaurs. And so that's just a generational thing. I want to make that comment because probably a lot of people are just sort of starting out. But I think if you take anything from what the panel has said about their education and their career snapshots, you find people coming from all walks of life and all different kinds of experiences. So marketing continues to be that sort of undecided major, I think. I think marketing is not really a major, it's a passion. And so that being said, it's an elusive thing to get your head wrapped around, and it's elusive thing to prepare for academically, because you have to be really have to be a lifelong learner to be successful in marketing. Dan?
I think that trying to crack into new marketing fields is a really difficult thing to do. Especially in the field that I'm in, which is the internet today. And I think very often the largest hurdle for someone who's trying to come into the field overcome is lack of experience with a certain set of tools. So generally the process for hiring people is that a manager will write up a job description and hand that over to an HR person. And the HR people don't really understand what they're looking for, what sort of qualities they're looking for. So what they do is they go to the skill set at the bottom of the job description and they start filtering out people based on that. So that's a real challenge, and I would say that for people who are passionate about something and are interested in doing something, don't be afraid to exaggerate your skill set. I think that's an okay thing to do. I think that if you can get yourself in a situation where you're making it a little bit over your head, you can still thrive in that environment, that's a marker for future success. So I'm going to encourage people to do that.
I think I heard once from a wise math teacher that interviews and tests are the only times you can really brag about yourself without looking too, crazy. So I like that comment right there, Dan.
Hey, Dan, I'd like to point out that your head is about 5 times larger than anybody else on the panel in this room, so you obviously are the wisest dude.
Christine, if you want to go, and can I put a little bit of spin in here too with, they mentioned as well, being able to kind of make things your own with qualities and kind of attitudes going in. So experience and also just type of leadership. Are you taking projects or are you just taking orders, I guess?
Yeah, I would say, we really look at, is this person going to mesh well with our team as well? So anything that you can do to kind of create a personality around yourself within your resume or within your digital profiles, and prove that you're able to kind of, I'm speaking from a social media perspective, but if we see that someone has a great social profile and they have great writing skills through these profiles, then that's going to make us even more excited and interested in that individual. So it's not always just about how many years of experience, but what tools have you used, and are you able to use them in a professional way? So I would kind of add that in.
I
definitely second that. As someone who interviews 10 to 15 people a week that are in the marketing, communications, creative fields, you want to find out a little bit of not only what your past experience is, even if it's limited, even if you just have an internship or two, that's still relevant experience, but what we're trying to figure out is what are you passionate about, what are the things that you really like, and if you haven't had the experience in the target area that you're looking to get in, what are you doing that can prove to me that you can do this? So if you want to get into digital marketing, show me how well you've interacted with local influencers. Show me about your blog. Show me about the new e-commerce site that you started to sell your Tom's shoes. Whatever it might be, something that can express your passion, express your interest outside of what can be shown on paper. Because it is those soft skills, it is those personality traits, that hunger, that excitement that really gets employers interested and can really help to lead you to be more successful farther down the road.
Damon, could I ask you on that? So it seems like you're kind of saying, if you like this, kind of start doing what you can with it before you even go to a job. Don't wait till you get to the job to be a blogger. If you like blogging, start now. And
that's something that's really personal to me, because when I was doing fundraising, I realized that fundraising wasn't exactly my bag. I liked the people aspect of it, but other than that, I wasn't really into it. But what I was really into was social. And so what I did on social, as soon as I moved to St. Louis, I reached out to some local influencers that I saw on Twitter, and I said, hi, I'm new to the area. Any recommendations? And I got a flood back. I ended up meeting some really impressive people that I probably would not have met had I not reached out and engaged. And from there, actually, a person who's now a close friend of mine, she was resigning from her digital marketing position, and she turned in my resume with her resignation letter and said, you need to hire this person. So that's how I got into that business. And so you can't sit back and wait for things to happen to you. You got to go out and make things happen, and then the opportunities tend to follow.
So can I add one thing real quick? One of the things I like to do when I interview people is figure out whether what they're interviewing for is in fact a passion of theirs, and if they're doing it on the side, right? So if I'm talking to a creative person, I want to figure out, are they going out on the weekend and shooting photographs? Are they, designing, they have a book full of sketchy stuff that see, check this out. Software developers, I'm expecting them to have projects they're doing on the side on their own. Yeah, I've been tinkering with how to build iPhone apps or what. So I think it's important, if you believe in the stuff that you're pursuing, to be doing it on your own, on the side, both to learn it and to exhibit to the people who are interviewing you that you actually really do care about it. And as you say, it doesn't matter whether you're doing it professionally now, you need to be doing it now, right?
Carlos?
For me, I don't think it's so much about experience as it is what value do you bring to the organization, right? So we've talked about passion, but what does passion really mean? And I think it means, do you get it? So I remember interviewing for Winn-Dixie 3 years ago, and they were going through a search where they were looking for someone who didn't necessarily have that marketing degree, but they were looking for someone that understood social media. And I can tell you from someone that's interviewed for these types of roles, I've never gone into an interview where I'm not prepared to talk about an analysis that I've done on the organization, where they're at, and where I think I can offer the most value to them. So whether it's taking Facebook and helping them grow, whether it's helping a C-suite executive understand how Snapchat or how Vine or how all these tools work, it's all about that value that I bring. And trust me, they get it. The advantage of being in the world of digital and social, and even marketing, is that a lot of the leaders at senior level, they're older than you and than I and than most of us in this room, and they're looking for someone that's going to guide them. They're looking for someone that's going to help them look as good as possible. And again, it goes back to that value and really having the confidence that you can look at Mr. and Mrs. Interviewer in the eye and put necessarily the education aside for a second, but really talk about what you can do to make a difference for their organization.
I agree with what everybody said. I'm not sure about that HR comment, though. Everybody said great things. I don't know if I'd have too much to add. Just make sure you are getting that experience on the side, blogging, writing, anything you're passionate about that has to do with writing is just going to show how well you communicate. And when you present yourself in an interview, make sure you practice those things. Anytime you go into an interview, you should be practicing, because that is just going to help you in your presentation skills, and that's important as well. That would be the only thing that I would add.
I'm going to skip around a little bit. I want to put this out there. Marketing is developing so quickly that it's hard for printed textbooks to even keep up with the trends that are evolving, and I think that's something we've all have noticed through the years. I just got like a 4th edition book that's just starting on like Facebook, and Facebook started in 2004. So let me start off with Dan. I guess the question I have is how can students educate themselves on current trends beyond what they're learning in the classroom?
My number one recommendation would be to read trade journals. Ad Age is one that's sort of a huge one for the business. But think about your area of focus, the area that you're interested in. And just try to get oriented with those kinds of journals or vendors that offer those kinds of solutions. So every company now has a blog and a newsletter, so it's really easy to get access to information that is relevant to the industry. So for any data people out there, I would say look at what Nielsen's doing, look at what ComScore's doing, look at what Kantar's doing, follow the big agency blogs, and what you'll start to understand is that there's this sort of public conversation happening around a lot of different topics, whether it be social media or native advertising or viewability or any of these concepts. And there's sort of like a lot of back and forth dialogue happening in these journals. So that's a really good way to orient yourself as to what's going on and what are the things that the students are struggling with. I'd say it's a good way to stay informed, outside of a textbook and kind of relevant things to say when you're speaking to people in those industries.
All right. Thank you. Anyone else want to? Carlos, and then I got you next, Wes.
Yeah, I'll take a stab at this. I'd say if you really want to study what's trending, take a look at the brands where you shop or the brands that you like to do business with, and look how they're connecting with consumers today. And I do this a lot. I work in retail, I work in grocery, but aside from being a consumer, I'm a marketer. And I want my brand to be successful, so I look at the Expresses or the sporting goods stores. I look at the stores where I shop and I study them on how are they connecting on Twitter. What type of content are they putting on Facebook? I sign up for their email marketing lists. Men's Warehouse, Joseph A. Bake, all those guys. And I really study them from that angle to then see what's really working and what's hot that I can then incorporate into my brand. And that's really why I encourage anyone out there is just take a step back and see what some of these successful brands are doing today.
Wes?
Good advice, Carlos. Clearly a fanatic on the grocery channel, and you're able to get kind of wrapped around it and really engaged in it. You can skip college if you're that passionate, I will say some of the comments that have kind of woven in and out of this panel have been about preparing yourself for getting a job or getting an interview, but your real goal should be to be something that's more sustainable over time. Be a lifelong learner. Be passionate about things. Read things because you're engaged and you want to read things, not just because you want to impress some hiring manager somewhere. So, and that's a hard thing to balance. I mean, when you're obsessed with, kind of making a living and figuring out how to pay your rent and all that stuff, sometimes you forget that. But believe me, I believe I probably qualify as maybe the oldest guy in the room. Believe me, it will serve you well over time if you can grow personally and be a person that wants to continually educate yourself over time. And that's how you'll find your thing. Find what you're really passionate about, what you really enjoy. If you're not sure where you want to go in your career, whether it's marketing or anything else, take the time to try to talk to some real human beings that you admire, or at companies that you think you admire, and find out what's really happening there. I think that really helps. And I think what he said is a good start. If you read the blogs and the social media that's out there about those companies and places where you think you want to be, then you start to understand what the conversation is. But don't put aside the opportunity to try and connect with some real human beings who can kind of tell you what's happening in the world.
Dana?
Sorry. and that's exactly what I was going to say. I like reading, but I'm an extrovert. I'd rather have a conversation. So finding those people who are killing it, the people that are really doing awesome with it, and then trying to just have a conversation with them, offer to take them out to lunch or whatever it might be. Now, I was having a conversation with our Chief Marketing Officer at Creative Circle earlier today, and he said that he gets multiple